When I was young, if I could have chosen my dreams, I would have spent every single night dreaming of going to the stars. I don't know why. I don't know why everyone isn't like that. When I looked up at night, I wondered, and I still wonder to this day, if there is anybody in my long line of sight looking back in my direction wondering the same thing. For a while I hoped that I would live to go to the stars. After all, at the time, men were going to the moon. It couldn't be that much further to the stars. But it is. It is. I could throw some numbers at you, but such numbers are meaningless. 24 million miles is easy to say, but almost impossible to grasp. And that's just the distance to Proxima Centauri, the nearest star to our Sun. And we're very unlikely to find another Earth in neighbouring systems. They might be hundreds or thousands of times further away. We can't cross the distance because we don't have the velocity, and we don't have the velocity because we don't have the necessary source of energy. So I consoled myself in science fiction for many years, where the speed of light could be broken, and where there was no limit to the acceleration our feeble bodies could take, and where no machines ever failed, and energy seemed no problem at all. But I always kept one eye on reality, and as I got older, the other eye started paying attention too. The fastest outgoing spacecraft and the loneliest object ever made by humanity is the Voyager 1 space probe, launched in 1977, which, as we speak, is 10.5 billion miles away. That sounds like a lot, but it's not. The probe is travelling at 38,000 miles per hour, and that sounds fast, but it's not. It's only 1/18,000th of the speed of light. If Voyager were heading to our neighbour, Alpha Centauri, just over 4 light years away, it would take 73,000 years to get there. And Voyager is just a probe, a lightweight. There's no need to carry propellant, to take food and water, or to provide biomass and nutrients and entertainment for a human crew. The fastest a man has ever travelled was 24,000 miles per hour during re-entry in the Apollo 10 command module, a vehicle that could support 3 men for just a few days. But there are some crude designs for starships that could, in principle, get us to the velocities we need, say 10% of the speed of light or faster, allowing us to reach the Centauri system in 40 years. There are fusion-powered rockets, ships with vast sails, ships with antimatter engines, but the light sail idea would need a sail almost 1,000 miles in diameter and would require a continuous laser or particle beam back in our solar system, putting out 75 billion watts every second for several years. And then the ship needs to decelerate at its destination. A colony ship using antimatter engines would have to take their fuel with them, and the fuel to move the fuel. It's a truism that in planetary space travel it takes a lot of fuel to move a little mass, but where interstellar travel is concerned, it takes an enormous amount of fuel to move the colossal amount of fuel required to move the awful lot of fuel needed to move a little mass towards the speed of light. One design I recently read about talks of a ship weighing 160 million metric tons and carrying 40 million tons of hydrogen and another 40 million tons of anti-hydrogen. Now we can make antimatter, but so far in all of human history we have made just a few atoms of it. To produce 1 gram of antimatter using current technology would cost approximately $100 quadrillion and take billions of years. The closest thing we have to a workable design is Project Orion, which uses a long series of kicks from atomic explosions to accelerate the ship. The ship would be extremely heavy for its size, 500,000 tons of it, much of it made of thick, dense metal, in order to survive the stresses of the 300,000 nuclear detonations needed to reach 8 to 10% of the speed of light. But it might be wise if such a ship and its fuel were constructed and launched in space. Now, having said all of that, We do have time. While a huge comet or a nearby supernova or a gamma-ray burst could wipe our species out, these events are statistically very rare. If we don't kill ourselves, and with just a little luck, we could have millions of years on Earth. With so much time ahead of us, we can afford a few setbacks, and a few thousand years might be all we really need. Robots could mine the solar system and construct the ships. We could greatly reduce the weight of the ships by sending embryos to be raised by robots when they reach their destination. Anything possible is possible. And there are so many possibilities. Among the crimes for which Giordano Bruno was burned alive by the Catholic Church, as well as holding opinions contrary to the Catholic faith, he stood in the flames accused of claiming the Earth was not the only world. And we now know that the Sun orbits the centre of our galaxy once every 250 million years, along with more than 100 billion other suns, many carrying planetary systems not unlike our own. And this is all happening in more than 100 billion other galaxies. If it were possible, I'm confident that Bruno would smile a knowing smile. As colossal as the technological difficulties that stand between us and the stars are, given the resources of our solar system, even if it does take a million years, a mere tick of the galactic clock, it seems inevitable that we will succeed, if it can be done. The biggest problem is us, and the ache that we each carry inside, our territoriality, our determination to breed beyond the land's ability to support us, our greed, our short-sightedness, our fear and hatred of those of a different tribe, our insane economic systems, our drive to war, our inability to face reality. These are the real challenges. By comparison, reaching the stars is easy. Once or twice a year, I dream of the galaxy rise, of standing on a frozen moon 1,000,000 trillion miles away. It's only a dream, but it feels real, like I'm there, so small that I barely exist. And in that dream, sometimes it seems so unfair, almost cruel. There's so much I wanted to see, but I never will. The stars can live for tens of billions of years. Compared to them, what am I? But somehow there's beauty in it. And there's a feeling that I think some people call God. Perhaps God is what minds do when they are blown apart by the awe of their even existing at all. The truth is, I don't need to head out amongst the stars. I'm already there, on a ship called the Earth, being dragged around our galaxy by the sun's motion at around 500,000 miles per hour. I don't need to travel to a world in outer space. I'm already standing on one. And what madness it is to envy a star its billions of years when it cannot experience one moment of it. The stars would weep if they knew of our existence. The stars have no choices. They cannot love, cannot feel, cannot laugh, cannot think. By comparison, any human is a kind of a miracle, albeit one made inevitable by simply being possible in a universe of 70 sextillion suns. We call ourselves humans. You can find us 4.3 light years from Proxima Centauri in the Orion arm of the Milky Way galaxy. We're not all that we could be, but one day, well, you never know.